For years, crew communication has had one clear weak point, and everyone in production just kind of accepted it. Synco says that the era is over. They sent me their new master headset system, and today we're pushing it to see if it actually delivers when it matters. Alright, that was a quick delivery. I do have to say thank you to Synco for sending them so quickly and so magically. And while the headsets have been great while using them, the fact that I even said yes to actually taking them on was because of the mesh network. Now basically that means instead of having one master headset, you have multiple headsets that all can talk to each other independently. This is absolutely fabulous. Now picture this. You're out on set and the first AD goes out to get some coffee. That's a normal thing that happens, but for some reason the first AD is always the one with the master headset. That is very annoying because then you will lose connection to all the other headsets that are on the set. So, for example, if you're using Holodeck headsets, you will just lose the connection. With these new Synco Master Pro headsets, nothing will happen because all of the headsets are already talking to each other. And not only that, because the headsets can actually bridge in between each other, the maximum range of 500 meters, that's between two headsets. But imagine if you put the headsets in a link. You can go as long as you like because the headsets at one end can talk to the headset at the other end. And they use the headset in between to actually talk between each other. Now that is quite extraordinary. And I'm surprised it hasn't actually shown up until now. But I am really happy that it has. So in short form, Synco reached out, they said, hey, we got this headset, you want it? And I said, yeah, I do want it. And I actually got a little bit giddy. Because normally I don't really care for these kinds of things. But this time I felt like a kid on Christmas. And when I finally received the package, I was so thrilled to actually get to try them out. The function honestly is a little bit communist and I really do like it. Let me give you an example. If you have one person behind a big concrete wall and you have another person behind a big concrete wall. Now these two people are trying to talk to each other. That's going to be hard because the headset use 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi frequencies basically. A bit souped up, I do have to say, but in the end it's just basic Wi-Fi. The signal is not going to be able to penetrate this concrete wall. But let's say we put a third headset down on the other end of this wall, so the signal can just jump in between and actually shortcut, so it doesn't have to go through the concrete. That is a great thing about the mesh network and something I actually noticed on set. I never lost connection to anyone, even though I should have lost connection to them, because we were in a very big concrete building. But still, it just worked. Now, thanks to the headsets being independent of each other, if you're only using the headsets, you can have up to 8 different headsets talking to each other. If you get a base station, you can have up to 40 all going at once. Now 40 headsets on one channel, that would be a bit extreme, but let's be honest here, neither of us are going to reach the level where we have to manage 40 people. With that said, I do agree you should really aim for the stars, and if you do hit these stars, there's the option to actually divide all of the headsets up into as many categories as you want. So you could have the A camera team, you could have the director team, you could have... And even so, if you want to speak to everyone, you can easily do that. If you open up the app, which I'll talk about later, but basically it actually works. If you're the director or if you're someone higher up that wants to speak to everyone at the same time, you can just press a button, you override all communication and you're the only one speaking to all of the headsets. That is quite impressive, if I do say so myself. And I do have to mention as well, something that you could do is if you have an annoying producer that is trying to butt in a little bit too much everywhere, you can put him in his own channel and he's just gonna butt off and speak to himself all day. Now, I'm not brave enough to try that, but if you do, then please do leave it down in the comments. Now, this might sound like a small thing, but in my opinion, it's actually pretty goddamn nice. On the side of the headset, right here, you have a 3.5mm port. Now, what can you do with that? You can basically monitor your camera's audio while you're still wearing the crew headset. Before this, I've always had to juggle two headsets, one for my camera and one for my crew. So I can partly monitor the audio and I can partly actually listen to what the people are saying. Now I can do both from one headset. And yeah, absolutely, I do hear you. Relax, it's not gonna be a sound monitoring solution, it's not gonna be good audio. But listen, I'm just watching for scratches, I'm just watching for wind noises. Me, myself and I, as the videographer or cinematographer, I do not really mind if I cannot hear all of the audio frequencies. That is what I have a sound recordist for. I'm just monitoring the audio to make sure it sounds good while I'm recording it. Now, when it comes to the sound of this headset, it's good, It might even be great depending on how you view it. You see, the headset does cut off a lot of the lower frequencies as well as a lot of the higher frequencies. So the voice transmission is tuned for the human hearing range. So you will not be blasting music through this, it will not sound good. However, for hearing what other people are saying, it's absolutely flawless. And if you're speaking to someone really close, so what would normally happen with cheaper headsets is there's some delay. So you get audio feedback from when you're speaking and what you're actually hearing. That can be really annoying, and it can actually mess some people up when they're speaking, me included. With that said, if you do enable ENC, electronic noise cancelling, you will have some perceptible delay. I'm gonna estimate it at between 80 to 100 milliseconds. So if you're talking to someone while you have ENC on, you can actually notice it. It's not bad enough that I could not talk, but I could actually hear it. And the ENC actually does work really good. Now, if you go on the website for Synco, they do claim it's some kind of AI feature, ENC, whatever, but as you know, we're getting AI crammed down our throats wherever we go. I simply think it's two microphones and it's simply cancelling the noise out. I might be wrong here, maybe it's some fantastic AI chip inside of these headsets. I don't think so. But the gist of it, the sound is great, the ENC is great. If you want absolutely zero delay, this is not the headset for you, but I cannot perceive it. When it comes to the range of these headsets, Synco does claim they can do 500 meters. And since they're using 2.4 GHz, as I mentioned, Wi-Fi that's been taking some steroids and going to the gym, I do believe the claim. So, this is the range test. And I currently have the HoloLens on me and I have the Syncos on me. These are the HoloLens Solidcom C1 Pro and these are the Synco Master headsets. I simply have them placed right here. We have a speaker that's going to be blasting a podcast. And then we're simply going to walk until I lose signal. And I stop hearing the podcast in both of these microphones. I know I look very high-tech right now. Thank you very much. Let's start the podcast and start walking. Okay, this is a very interesting revelation. When we walk away for a bit, the HoloLens actually gets some delay and the Syncos have still zero delay. And we're, what, 50 meters away from the car? So the HoloLens delay actually increases as you walk away. The HoloLens right now are lagging a bit. So I can actually hear that the audio is cutting up. We're roughly, I'm gonna say 150 meters away from the car where we have the other headsets. And the Syncos on the other hand, we have a full signal. So for now, let's relegate the HoloLens. They lasted 150 meters. Let's see how long the Syncos can handle it. Okay, now we're really walking downwards. Now there's a lot of earth between us and the headsets. The HoloLens headset is completely dead. Okay, there we go. That's the limit. So again, to be fair, we're actually walking downhill with a lot more earth in between me and the headset. Now, Synco does claim you can do 500 meters. Maybe that is true in the US, but here in the EU, we're only allowed to send 100 milliwatts in the 2.4 GHz frequency, which means these roughly 200 meters we got is more than good enough. So, we just did some awesome redneck science where I simply took the drone and I flew it as far as we went. And I was like, yeah, we're probably about 220 meters. Eric, my dear cameraman, yeah, we're easily over 400 meters. For the Synco, we got 240 meters. For the Solidcoms, we got 220 meters. More than good enough. But the important thing to note here is we could put another headset down the range to actually get further range. So instead of 240 meters, and then we could put on another headset and another. So, while the Synco beat the range of the Solidcoms by an easy 20%, the important thing here is that the Syncos use a mesh network. And with that disappointing, yet great results, let's get back to the talking head. But as I mentioned, because of the mesh network, you can actually put a spare warm body or maybe just a headset on a tree branch in the middle of wherever you're shooting to act as a mesh node, which actually enables your range to be 1,000 meters. Or maybe you add the two of them, then you get a range of 1,500 meters and on and on and on. Like, the range is ridiculously good. You will never, ever not have connection unless you're on a very big racetrack and there's just the two of you. But if you're a team of 8 people on a racetrack, the signal will always find its way. And it is so impressive when it works. Let's talk about something a little bit awkward. Have you ever been on set and that person has showed up, maybe, oftentimes, usually, almost always, in the grip department, and they haven't seen a Canon deodorant in about 10 years. Now, these people, they will smell of BO, and that's okay. Until they're up in your face with their armpits and trying to explain to you why they cannot use a C-stand to hold a whatever the fuck flag. I know the situation, you know the situation. Now me as the director, me as the producer, or maybe even me as the PA, depending on how bad the situation is, has to address this. Now, I could go and talk to him, but then I'd have to face the smell. Now, I could just talk to him openly, and then I'm embarrassing him, and that's kind of not cool. Now, thanks to the Synco headsets, I actually have a great solution for this, which, to be honest, it is actually a pretty good function, even though my example maybe isn't that realistic. You simply take out the app, and you select the headset that is attached to the BO person. Then you can talk to them one-on-one and say, hey, I love you, man. You're the greatest at your whatever thing you're doing, but you kind of smell like BO. I have a spare can of deodorant, etc., etc. And you can just talk to them quietly, shyly, and hopefully you didn't press the wrong button so you weren't speaking on the all channel. But if you select that one headset, and it will all be over. When I got the headsets, I noticed there was an app attached to the headset to execute some critical functions, which initially I was quite disappointed about, because apps are usually so bad for these kinds of things. Like the expectation level for these kinds of apps are kind of below the floor. It's kind of subterranean. They never work. You have to restart them many times. So I was actually very, very pleasantly surprised about how good the app actually works for the Synco headsets. You can do everything from power management to group routing to you can enable, disable ANC, you can adjust the volume levels both for the microphone and for the speaker. So if you have someone speaking really American, you can turn their microphones down. If you have someone speaking like me, you can turn the microphone way up. So the app is actually shockingly really, really good. And it's really intuitive. And if you want to link more headsets, so let's say you buy 4 and then you buy a 5th one, you know, usually you would have to go through the whole pairing process with all 5 headsets, and it's always a hassle. In the app, you just select all 5 headsets and you go link, and they're linked. I am absolutely perplexed by how good it actually works. So thank you very much, Synco, for putting some effort into the app and not just putting it on some intern that has to throw it together over a weekend. Or using cloud to do it. Thank you for not using cloud to develop this app. Now, actually using the headset, it is quite nice, I do have to say. The headset is really lightweight, around 200 grams or so, so less than your iPhone. The microphone maybe is a little bit too long for my taste, but on the other hand, it's not a big thing. The antennas that seems to be glued on compared to the HoloLens, they are attached properly actually, they are not glued on. And they increase the range substantially, so I'm not so mad about that. You have 4 buttons on the headset, A, B, and the volume buttons. Nothing in particular to care about there. When it comes to the battery life, Synco does claim it can do 12 hours. Now, when I've been using it, we did use it on set for 8 hours, it did not run out. When I've just been testing it, just laying on my desk, powered on, it ran for 13 hours. Now, I don't know if it actually uses more power if you're actively using it, but I can at least say it's at least 8 hours of active use on set, and most probably more, but does it do 12 hours? I don't know. When it comes to the fit and finish, it's using pleather. Now, what would you say about that? I like it because for hygienic reasons, having pleather that is easy to just wipe down, especially if it's something you would rent out, that really does feel like a must to me. Now, would it be better if it was real leather? Perhaps, but this feels like quite high quality. And if it starts falling apart, it's easy to fix and replace. I'm not that fussed about it. When it comes to the battery pack, it's just a normal lithium-ion 4 watt-hours battery pack. Quite small, about a GoPro battery size. When you buy the headset, you always get 2 batteries per headset, so you can always have 1 set of batteries on charge. Something I really like with this headset is, right now, the headset is not muted. If I flip up the microphone arm, it's muted. And there's a clear, distinct click when it mutes and unmutes, not to mention there is a small sound in the headset. It's a really nice thing to have, and I much appreciate this a lot more than having some button on the end. So, I've talked more than enough about the Synco Masters. Now, let's talk about the competition. This is a HoloLens Solidcom C1 Pro. It's basically the gold standard when it comes to headsets, and I have basically the same build, I do have to say. It's just the HoloLens do look a lot more premium. With that said, the HoloLens are more expensive and they do not have the mesh function. So with the HoloLens, you do have one master headset, and again with these, there's no master headsets. They're all master headsets. So, even though I have access to both of them, and by the way, thank you very much Filmmaking for letting me borrow these to actually do a comparison, I will be picking the Syncos every day of the week just because of the mesh function. And in addition to that, you'll be paying around 800 euros for 4 of these headsets. And for 4 of the Solidcoms, you'll be paying around 1200 euros. So you will be saving 50% and you're getting a mesh network. These ones all day, every day. Now, let's go for the final verdict. Would I recommend them to anyone that's looking for headsets? Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. And the sound quality is more than adequate. It's nothing fantastic, but you will clearly be able to tell what everyone else is saying. So I do really endorse this headset. But with that said, I did get this headset for free sent to me by Synco. They did not pay me for this review, no money has changed hands. I will be keeping this headset and I will be using them for the foreseeable future. With that said, if you enjoyed this video, then please do leave a like. If you have any questions, then put them in the comments. I reply to all of my comments. And if you want a kiss, I'm gonna give you one. My fuck.